Crime, 40% Republicans. Immigration, 40% Republicans. Foreign conflicts, 35% Republicans. U.S. economy, 34% Republicans. Gun control, 32% Republicans. This is not because this country is busted in the brain and they're all reactionary. It's because the Republicans actually have a base. The Democrats have lost it. We already pay a lot more right now than we otherwise would if this entire system was socialized, okay? Universal childcare, universal healthcare, universal schooling, all the way up to fucking college. These are things that you could put your name next to and you would win a lot of favors with a lot of people, especially if they start beginning to trust you that you will actually earnestly advocate for this and fight for this. But Democrats don't want to do that. And in the absence of that being a way to run and win favors with the crowd in a popularity contest, you have to keep finding new ways of saying, well, we got to cave on this thing because the right has won on this issue. We got to cave on this other thing that the right has won on. You don't even present them an argument to be reactionary against. You allow the reactionaries to lead the conversation. You end up fighting in their territory. This is super simple shit. I don't know how the fuck the Democrats refuse to hear this out. It almost feels like they've bludgeoned their heads with like extreme centrism for so long that they just have an inability to hear this out. This basic fundamental concept of the democratic process. Votes are not taken for granted, okay? You are not entitled to the votes of the population. If you think you are, you're going to keep fucking losing. And that's precisely why we've lost twice to an incompetent charlatan who is a thin-skinned, egomaniacal, narcissistic, fascist piece of shit. A monster in every right. You can keep yelling at the left for trying to get you kicking and screaming to advocate for things that would be good for you, would be beneficial in the long run, and it's good policy and it's good politics. But ultimately, you just have to do it. And if you don't do it, we're just going to keep losing. And things are going to deteriorate even further. Last night, Harris was very quick to praise Mobile, Alabama mayoral candidate Barbara Drummond and name her a star just to avoid talking about Zoran. Drummond just lost to a Republican in a city that voted Democratic by double digits last year. Wait, what the fuck? She got hit with the curse. I'm not even saying this reflects poorly on Drummond. It just shows that Harris has no idea what she's talking about when she anoints someone a star. Mobile is 51% black and a Republican won. It does reflect poorly. Kamala Harris called Drummond a rising star. Turns out she's 69 years old. The Democrats are relying on the Republicans creating so much discontent that people have no other option but to vote for them come 2028, if there's even an election then at all. And the same principle applies to the midterms. I'm not so certain that they will have a banger midterm election, especially because their inability to address any of the anger that is growing organically without them steering us in that direction at all is going to actually yield the positive results that they're predicting. We have unprecedented unpopularity for the Democrats at a time when they're supposed to be automatically popular because the administration is incredibly unpopular. This is an alarm. This is a warning sign. This is a warning sign. The very fact that the Democrats are not automatically popular here, when there are certain Democrats who are, like the Zohran Mamdanis of the world, right, implies that there is a major issue with the way that the National Democratic Party is perceived by everyone. It doesn't really matter, however, because no matter how many times I fucking talk about this shit, everyone's still going to go, la, 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 I can't hear you. You just hate the Dems. You just want the Republicans to fucking win. I don't. Where's that Chuck Schumer quote? I saw that. It was crazy. I don't want to personally go after people, but it just has to be noted that Dover has for years smeared Palestine protesters with misinformation like he's doing again here, and his mother is an editor for Algemeiner, a pro-Netanyahu rag. Yeah, he is one of the most cynical grifters in mainstream news, by the way. Edward Isaac Dover, who literally fucking highlighted a Hasbara smear op against me for participating, for headlining the fucking New York Magazine event or the New Yorker event. I forget. I always mistake the two. He absolutely despises the left flank of the party, and he despises anti-Zionists, and he despises all the fucking socialists. It's ridiculous. And he's a hatchet man for extreme centrist liberalism for some weird reason. Okay? As happened at an Obama event last week, Harris tonight in New York was interrupted by protesters screaming about Gaza. As Obama did, she responded in part that she doesn't have any foreign policy power right now. Protesters like these have not been at any Trump or Vance events. This is untrue. This is a categorical falsehood that he is presenting. The notion that these protesters are not at every single fucking Trump event. These protesters are not literally taking it directly to Trump like Code Pink did just a couple weeks ago when Donald Trump said he's going to fucking have them arrested is ridiculous. Pro-Palestinian protesters interrupt Trump dinner in D.C. That was Code Pink. Watch, J.D. Vance heckled as he meets National Guard in Washington, D.C. Stop Gaza genocide. Protesters interrupt Marco Rubio. I believe this was also, again, Code Pink and also Ben and Jerry's. Pro-Palestinian protesters take over Trump Tower in New York. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators, Jewish Voice for Peace, took over the President Donald Trump's hotel in New York on Thursday in protest of activist Mahmoud Khalil's arrest. These are the guys who just refuse to fucking recognize that these people are protesting. Lol, who do you think you're fooling? It's so funny because they have no constituency. That's what is the reason why I don't usually talk about these fucking dipshits on Twitter is because they have no audience. Liberalism has been an abject fucking failure, even though it is still very much monoculture here. Okay. So they have no real human beings that go, that's my fucking politics. Okay. They don't have anything. They don't have any audience, but they're, really fucking annoying. He says, it's true that Code Pink protesters yelled at Trump when he went out to his dinner in DC photo op. But what tends to happen at dem events is more extensive and often more coordinated. Multiple people who wait for hours sometimes pay for tickets. That's bullshit. They do that too. Once again, they do that all the fucking time. They do that all the fucking time. You just don't see it because you don't want to see it. So goddamn annoying. Anyway, here's Chuck Schumer's method for victory. Let's take a look.
Look, people are upset in general. They don't like the Democrats. They don't like the Republicans. And they don't like Trump even more than they don't like the Democrats. But here's what's really interesting, Joe.
Right, but the polls don't show that, though. That's my question to you.
Well, his numbers have gotten much, much worse.
There it is. During Biden's presidency, Biden and Harris spokespeople denied that the two had any disagreements over Gaza, by the way. Remember that. So remember whatever fucking bullshit that you're hearing now. It's all pure fantasy. The fact that Democrats only tie with Republicans on respect for democracy, the only issue they really lean into consistently, just shows how inadequate and failed the Dem leadership has been. Which party has a better plan? From Politics and Poll Tracker. Crime, 40% Republicans. Immigration, 40% Republicans. Foreign conflicts, 35% Republicans. U.S. economy, 34% Republicans. Gun control, 32% Republicans. This is not because this country is busted in the brain and they're all reactionary. It's because the Republicans actually have a base. The Democrats have lost it. Understand? People look at these polls and misunderstand something fundamental here. They think, oh my God, people just really like the Republicans. We must become more like the Republicans. And in the act of becoming more like the Republicans, they lose even more favor within their base. This is why I always say we need bold and radical change in this fucking country. The reason why, even though Donald Trump is very unpopular, the Democrats are even less popular is because of this reality. They've shied away from addressing any of the needs of their fucking base or anyone that's in the margins, by the way, which is a much larger percentage anyway. It's a plurality. We're all going to go to fucking concentration camps, and the Democrats are going to be like, well, it wouldn't have happened if you voted for us harder. Republicans know that as long as they can maintain that reliable 25 to 30% psychopathic base, that Democrat unpopularity with the rest of the country, due to their inability to examine critically and address the needs, the immediate needs of the population, due to their unwillingness to address the immediate needs of the population, they can get away with winning marginal victories. I can't believe it. Dems are pretending we have to move further right, while even our more socially conservative neighbor is led by a pro-Palestine Jewish socialist who's polling at 80%. I wonder why. I wonder why she's polling at 80%. Maybe because they have a robust welfare state that they have the robust welfare state expansion policies that they've implemented even before she actually came into power, that she's certainly continued. Perhaps that's the reason. Mexico is not more conservative. What? Really? You're going to tell me Mexico is not more socially conservative? Get the fuck out of here. Of course Mexico is more socially conservative broadly than America. Come on now. It is. It is. It is. I mean, it's just America is very socially conservative as well. It's a pure Catholic country. Almost entirety. Shut the fuck. It's not loser ass fuck. This doesn't mean that there aren't progressive voices. We are culturally Catholic, but people do not believe in magical beings. Wait, what? First of all, the last guy quite literally did, and I loved him for it. Okay, what the fuck are you talking about? AMLO straight up said duendes were real. What are you talking about? That has nothing to do with what I'm saying anyway. What the fuck? It's the funniest thing to say. Mexico has a unique problem with femicide, for example. Not to say that America does not, but not to say that, but the people are not anti-abortion, for example. Okay, neither is America. What are you talking about? The problem is Mexico has, in spite of social conservatism or any sort of hangups that they might have, Mexico and Mexicans broadly have voted for a bold candidate that is continuing, that is the successor of a former candidate that expanded the welfare state. My point is, in a country that is experiencing a lot of femicide, they still voted for a woman. Now, of course, the other side also had a woman, let's be fair, but you know, a Jewish woman in a Catholic country. That means that people didn't necessarily care about it too much. My point is, under different circumstances with the Democratic Party's calculation, that would be a major hangup. Oh, we can't have a Jewish person run. Are you kidding me? They need a white guy. They need a white guy who's Catholic to fucking run the country. Why didn't they do that? Because she was the best vehicle, the best messenger, the best continuation of AMLO's policies. It was the policies that made Morena popular. American liberals are coping by saying they didn't know Mexico was so progressive. Like, in some ways it is. And in some ways it's way less progressive than America, but it doesn't fucking matter. Please do not let these shadows confuse you. The misogyny in Mexico is insane. I'm baffled at chat right now. I know it doesn't matter. But Mexico is politically left-leaning, but also socially fairly conservative. But it doesn't matter because social conservatism doesn't fucking matter when you're producing material results for people's immediate needs. That's the point I'm trying to fucking make. Why are people so dense? Why is this so difficult to comprehend? That's literally the entire principle that I am advocating for here in the United States of America. This is something that I believe people overlook social conservative leanings and social conservative tendencies when you offer them material improvements. That's it. Material improvements in the form of good policies, an expansion of the welfare state, addressing their needs, tackling the affordability crisis. People's personal social conservatism is not reflected in their politics if you have a party that cares about the economy, okay? That is proof in the pudding. The argument that I'm making is that they don't make it someone else's business. They don't give a shit when they're voting. That's just how human beings are. Like, no matter how transphobic someone might be, if you go up to them and say, hey, you are saddled with medical debt, I'm going to fix that. You're not going to go, oh, well, are you going to punish trans people as well? Because if not, I'm out. No human being thinks like that. Okay? They vote with their pockets. There's a reason why Zoran is doing better than any other candidate with the conservatives, with the exception of fucking Curtis Sliwa, who is the literal Republican in the New York race. He's a fucking brown Muslim socialist. His name is Zoran Kwame Mamdani. Why the fuck's he outperforming Andrew Cuomo, who's basically a Republican, and Eric Adams? How? How is he way more woke, way more progressive than those guys, and he's outperforming those guys? One must think there's probably a reason for it, because conservatives want fast and free buses too. It's that simple. I know what you're saying, but I think transphobes might be a bad example. They tend to explode their lives out of obsession. No, you're talking about Matt Walsh. I'm talking about regular ass transphobic people that are just like, yeah, it's weird and gross. I don't want to see it. That kind of transphobic person is like the normal kind of transphobe. The one that like could be easily convinced if there was a chill ass fucking trans coworker to be like, oh, I thought you guys were subhuman. It turns out you weren't. My bad. That is like the norm. Okay. Normal people don't fucking hyper obsess about trans people all the goddamn time. They don't think about it. That's a fucking insane thing to do. You are comparing Matt Walsh with like an average working class person who just kind of is weirded out and scared by the existence of trans people because it kind of bricks their previous binary antiquated concept of gender, like their understanding of gender. Ultimately, those people can very easily be convinced if you are a party that can be humiliated by the opposition to only care about giving Guatemalan transgender migrants bottom surgery in prison, and that can only happen if you have no discernible policies that people can associate you with, then yeah, people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? Why do they care about this? Why don't they care about me? There's a reason why Bernie Sanders is so goddamn popular. He is an 874-year-old Jewish man, and yet in a country like the United States of America, he's so fucking popular. How is that possible? Is it because he's sexy? Is it because he's charismatic? No, none of those reasons. It's because he is an earnest communicator that seeks to address the material harms that American working class people are experiencing. And he's been punished by the establishment for it for years and years and years. That's why he's seen as like an outsider, even though he's been in politics for 700 years. Searchlight Institute, top issues that battleground voters say leaders should focus on today are affordability, healthcare, and jobs. What? But when asked which top 3 issues they think the Democratic Party is focused on, they say climate change, LGBTQ plus issues, and healthcare. It's not bad that they at least say healthcare. Why didn't Bernie get the Dem votes in the primaries in 2016? Oh my God, do not open this fucking can of worms again. Because the instruments of the party and the base of support that votes in the... Number one, the base of support for the Democratic Party that votes in the primary elections is the most loyal, blue no matter who, establishment Democrat aligned, more conservative voters as opposed to the general election. Okay? That's number one. And this is a reality that many people do not understand. They also consistently act as though that's not the case because those are the people who care about like whatever the Democrats have billed themselves as defending. That's number one. Number two, those guys are incredibly malleable. They are very susceptible to the framing of like MSNBC, New York Times, and things of that nature. So they are at the mercy of whatever the fuck they say is electable. And they kept repeatedly saying, in spite of so many polls that showed this wasn't the case and that Bernie would have had a 10-point lead on fucking Donald Trump. That's you want to know something that's fucking really blackpilling, okay? In 2016, numerous polls were conducted on Bernie Sanders' performance and Hillary Clinton's performance against Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders was outperforming Hillary Clinton by 10 points against Donald Trump. And yet, all of the narratives were Bernie's not electable. Bernie's not electable. He's too radical. He's too radical. He's too radical. So they badgered people over the head with how shitty Bernie was going to be. Donald Trump himself recognized Bernie Sanders would be too hard to fucking defeat. He kept saying it over and over again, all the way back then. But ultimately, there was also a lot of shit. Don't forget the super delegate situation. I know there was a lot of institutional hurdles presented against Bernie Sanders. I think if 2028, if there's an election, we'll have a different Dem primary base, but I don't know how we can fill that Bernie role. I'm sorry, but AOC is not that person. I don't think AOC is ready for that person right now, but who knows what might happen in the next 3 years. But anyway, do you see Ryan Walters pledging a Turning Point USA chapter for every high school in Oklahoma? I fucking don't know what to say to that. Are you okay? No, I'm relitigating age-old wounds at this point that I have spent my entire political career having to address over and over again. So no, I am not okay. But yeah, in any case, we're here. Don't believe anybody who says America's so much more conservative than you think it is. Oh my God. Because those people, whether they're oblivious to this reality or not, are unwittingly defending this notion that you have to tack to the right over and over again. And that is precisely the reason why they keep fucking losing. I'll leave you on some good news. More countries are pledging military vessel support to the Gaza flotilla. Spain announced today that it will send an official military ship to protect the global Samud flotilla, which is carrying humanitarian aid to Gaza following the attacks on the civilian vessels early this morning. I'll just leave you on that good note.